This is the director's take, reflecting on the future of Overwatch 2. This was a couple days ago. Hey all, it's been an emotional week in the world of Overwatch. A few days ago, we talked about our change in approach to PvE in Overwatch 2, and released a high-level roadmap for the year. We're really excited for everything we'll be launching soon. While much of discussion this week has been how we're canceling PvE outright, which isn't accurate. But I want to take some time to discuss some of that with you here. When we announced Overwatch 2 in 2019, the idea for the game was centered around the PvP game we released in last October, and on the PvE side, story missions and hero missions. Story missions focused on fast-paced co-op gameplay, as well as stories, cinematics, cutscenes, that expand the world of Overwatch. Story missions would tell a linear narrative about the heroes of Overwatch, reuniting and battling the new null sector threat, pushing the story of Overwatch maps with new enemies and new cinematics. We'll begin to release them in Season 6. The work done here is amazing, leaps and bounds above what we built for PvE previously in our game. I can't wait for our players to get their hands on them. We'll be sharing more details there in the coming weeks. And sure, story is a big part of why I feel like everyone wanted Overwatch 2 to be a thing, but I feel it's really disingenuous to say this is the primary reasoning. Like, or the primary return that you get. You can't say this isn't canceling PvE, because PvE isn't about a campaign. A campaign is a campaign. PvE is PvE. They are two separate things. What Jeff went out on the stage and promised was a PvE experience akin to Diablo, which is you build up talents, it's almost an RPG-esque style thing. You get your talents, you get your hero progression, you feel your hero gets stronger and stronger, you get lots of loot depending on the game, or XP or whatever it is. You go further down the story tree, but overall it's more like you're taking on a lot of enemies, you're completing objectives, but all of the enemies are far more, I feel like they're far simpler, but the ways to deal with them are harder. So you have to create an entire game centered around the abilities, essentially. A campaign is you're going through a story. It's what we've already had. We've had campaigns for years and events. Like every few we have the Junkertown Halloween event. Like those events are already innately their own story missions. They're offshoot, non-canon ones sometimes, and occasionally we get one like the one where you go through King's Row and you get the payload. That right there is another type of campaign story, but I wouldn't necessarily call that PvE. That's not the experience we were promised for what is it now, 3 years or something? Oh yeah, no, it was 3 years of them stepping away from development, and I think it's like a 5 year or 6 year promise. And it's just crazy that they could announce Overwatch in 2019. Yeah, okay, so 2019. Yeah, a couple of years. Been a couple of years. That's what we were promised. It's been years. I know friends who actively have not played anymore because they were waiting for PvE to be released. I've had friends who would only play the PvE because they're not competitive gamers. And like, hero missions for hero mode. Um, On the other hand, encompassed in development game mode that allowed players to upgrade individual heroes through talent trees, providing a deeply replayable version of PvE in Overwatch 2, which was deeply promised. It was a really exciting concept, something that not only resonated with players, but that the team was passionate about and really dedicated to. This is the mode we're no longer moving forward with. And that is where you can't really the fall goes to Blizzard regardless for promising it. But then the fall falls back to Activision too for taking away from development resources, absolutely destroying their development teams. They were pulling people from the PvE side to work harder on the PvP because they felt it was a bigger cash cow. It's live service models make more money. Sir Swag talks a bit on it when he brings up Blizzard X. He has a video on Blizzard XX, who uh or one of the Blizzard employees talking about Blizzard XX and Activision XX, and they really go in depth on it. To give you some context for this change, I'd like to talk about the past and the origins of Team 4. The Overwatch team was founded in the wake of a canceled game at Blizzard called Project Titan, Hood Classic. That game had many facets, but at its heart, it was an FPS MMO, the final goal of Overwatch. The Overwatch team, especially at its inception, considered itself an MMO development team. As we transitioned away from that original concept and started creating Overwatch, we included plans to one day return to this scope. We had a crawl, walk, run plan. Overwatch was the crawl. A dedicated version of PvE was the walk, and an MMO was the run. It was built into the DNA of the team early on, and some of us considered that a final game, a true realization of the original. The final game would be a final true realization of the original vision of Project Titan. Something that would have literally rivaled World of Warcraft. So many people are already invested in this story. Imagine how far this could have gone if they just kept on progressing. But you can't make money in the immediacy, so it's not worth it, is it? When we launched Overwatch in 2016, we quickly started talking about the next iteration could have been, what the next iteration could be. Looking back at that moment, it's now obvious that we weren't as focused as we should have been on the game that was a runaway hit. Instead, we stayed focused on a plan that was years old. Work began on the PvE portion of the game, and we steadily continued shifting more and more of the team to work on those features. Good. Good. You did it for 3 years, so where the fuck did it go? Where did these resources go? There was constant talks of team expansions. Oh, we've doubled our team size. We have so much more team. You could have had a dedicated PvP section, a dedicated PvE section, which I'm sure is what happened. But if you're pulling from the PvP team to the PvE team for that many years, and you're splitting the teams off over time, why wouldn't you keep the small dedicated team continuing to work on it? And in fact, just expand that team. This is, I feel it's more than just like, hey, you know, this is going to make me more money. It's also an investment in the future opportunity. Think of how big and massive World of Warcraft is. Think of how massive Overwatch itself on release was. You're throwing away the goodwill of hundreds of thousands of players for the sake of quick money. And not only that, you're making people quit the game. People like me are going to look at shit like Paladins and just see a reflection of all the things that I said I hated about that game coming into a game that we loved for years with loot boxes and everything. Things rarely go as planned in game development. We struggled to find our footing with the hero missions experience early on. Scope grew. We were trying to do too many things at once and we lost focus. The team built some really great things, including hero talents, new enemy units, and early versions of missions, but we were never able to bring together all of the elements needed to ship a polished, cohesive experience. We had an exciting but gargantuan vision, and we were continuously pulling resources away from the live game in an attempt to realize it. There was so much shown to content creators. If you guys remember, they like flew out XQC and a bunch of others to play the PvE version of the game. And they said while it was a bit stale, because there wasn't much to it, there was the PvP and PvE sections of it that they played. And there's something that exists there. There's clearly the bones for a good game. So why not put more developmental resources to finishing what already exists? How many years were wasted of not only developer time but our time? For what? What did we gain? There was nothing. We got a worse version of Overwatch 1, and it is worse. People say, oh, but they put out updates so much quicker. But it's so much buggier. Updates are coming out so fast because they're putting so many skins in the game. There were problems with skin textures in Overwatch 1. Can you imagine the issues now in Overwatch 2 that are just prevalent? Hitboxes probably all kinds of fucking wonk. In any case, like on top of all this weirdness going on with the new live service model, it doesn't feel worth it, like, to play. You don't gain much from playing. You have to play for, actually, though the project is scrapped, let me see, free to play Delusion. I made an entire spreadsheet of free to play Delusion. Where is it? F2P. I made a spreadsheet basically of how long it takes you to get through all of free to play. And essentially it's like, over 80 hours or whatever, and you get a grand total of 4 skins, maybe 1 okay skin, and enough currency for maybe an emote. Premium currency can only be earned on weekly, so essentially to enjoy the game that you could have played, put in a lot of time whenever you wanted, gain XP, earn loot boxes, and sure they were random chance, but you got more stuff. Instead, we get, hey, you can really buy one skin you really want, no matter what, which you can already do with the previous currency anyway, but no matter what. And if you're a new player, that's great. If you're an old player like me, we already have so many skins. We could earn our currency and buy the skins we want at every event. There was literally a community of people like myself who would save like 3,000 for every event, and then after you would either try to earn event loot boxes or consider buying them after, and you knew you were going to get all the skins. You could earn everything if you put in the time and more. Now everything is locked behind a fucking price tag. You got to use like the golden currency or whatever to buy like a majority of anything that looks good. No real cosmetics can be purchased with that gray, shitty legacy coin. You can buy old cosmetics, so they could say, hey, you can still have the same experience as Overwatch 1, except you earn it so much slower. You don't gain much legacy credits. You can only use it on those old things or garbage sprays or whatever. You can't use it on the cosmetics you want. So you can't really truly earn your way the way you used to. And obviously that was for money. But on top of like all this monetary dogpiling, trying to really build up their stacks, they just threw away everything the Overwatch 1 players could enjoy, and we allowed it. Why? PvE. Everyone said, they need more money. They're working hard and they're putting out all this content, but it's all for that light at the end of the tunnel, PvE. When you lost one friend from your party in 5v5, even though a lot of people didn't want that at all, and no one really asked for it truly, and in my opinion, even if it made the game more fun, we still accepted it regardless. And we were going to accept it regardless because of PvE. And now, here we are. Ah, man. When we launched Overwatch, yep, things really go as planned in game development. We struggled to find our footing with the hero mission experience early on. Scope grew, we were trying to do too many things at once, and we lost focus. The team built some really great things, including hero talents, new enemy units, and early versions of missions, but we were never able to bring together all of the elements needed to ship a polished, cohesive experience. We had an exciting but gargantuan vision, and we were continuously pulling resources away from the live game in an attempt to realize it. I can't help but look back on our original ambitions for Overwatch and feel like we used the slogan of crawl, walk, run to continue to march forward with a strategy that just wasn't working because they didn't have the team to do it. We had announced something audacious. Our players had high expectations for it, but we no longer felt like we could deliver it. We needed to make an incredibly difficult decision, one we knew would disappoint our players, the team, and everyone looking forward to hero missions. The Overwatch team understands this deeply. This represented years of work and emotional investment. They are wonderfully, incredibly talented people and truly have a passion for our game and the work that they do. Lastly, people have wondered why this announcement came at this time. After Overwatch 2 had launched, we started refining our plans for future seasons. As those plans grew, we tried to find ways to make all of our ambitions fit together in a plan that we believed in. How about following through with the plans that you've already made instead of forming new ambitions? Refining your plans for future seasons, you're coming up with new ways to monetize the game. You're not focusing your developmental resources on making something. Instead, what you're focused on is how can I squeeze the most money out of people without them actually being able to enjoy the game that they all paid for? We couldn't. And we also knew that we couldn't go back to pulling people away from the live game in service of that original version again. You could. You could. So we made the difficult decision to cut hero missions and started planning for the future. From there, we needed to update the vision for the game, gain confidence in our new direction, and roll out the changes to the team. The decision was the start of a long process, not the final piece of it. This has been hard for us. Oh no! Oh, it was so hard for us to lie to you and siphon all that money. But as the director on this project, I had to do my best to make the decisions that put the game and the community first, even when those decisions are disappointing. In this case, I had trouble pivoting away from a vision that just wasn't working. And for that, I would like to apologize to our players and our team. I'm sorry. Oh, well, it's only it's only a few million to billion. It's a couple bucks, I'm sure. I'm sure everyone who paid for the game and paid for cosmetics in the game, expecting PvE to be released, are perfectly fine with their money being siphoned uh, because you apologized. It's cool. Yep. You and me, we're cool. Sarcasm. What's wrong with you? Jesus Christ. Uh, Man, we're focusing our efforts and our passion into making this game an ever-evolving experience. We are still committed to building many of the elements we talked about at BlizzCon 2019, including the story missions that delve into the next chapter of the Overwatch universe. We already had those. New types of co-op content we haven't yet shared. We already had co-op content. We wanted PvE. And new stories that we're planning to tell you both in and out of game. Wow. Are you telling me you're giving us cinematics and PvE missions, except now they're locked behind a battle pass? Wow. We're excited about this direction, and we can't wait for you to finally get to experience what we've been building. Overwatch was born from the ashes of Project Titan. It was a moment of metamorphosis for the team and the project, and something beautiful came out of it. This is another moment of change, and the future of Overwatch will be born out of it. And to the ashes of Project Titan, to the ashes of Overwatch, to the ashes of a good game industry, you know? We'll be sure to take down all the goodwill that our consumers have to let them know that we don't give a fuck, bro. Give us that. Give us that bread. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean you need PvE? Buy more skins. Buy more skins, idiot. Come on. Why do you need a game that you were promised? I'm gonna show you a little something. Jeff Kaplan leaves Blizzard. Let's see this little. I wanna talk about something important because now it really resonates. Statement. This man left like a bat out of hell very early on. Clearly something was up when Jeff left. Everyone had a bad feeling. I am leaving Blizzard Entertainment after 19 amazing years. It was truly the honor of a lifetime to have the opportunity to create worlds and heroes for such a passionate audience. I want to express my deep appreciation to everyone at Blizzard who supported our games, our game teams, and our players, our game teams too. But I want to say a special thanks to the wonderful game developers that shared in the journey of creation with me, the original team. Never accept the world as it appears to be. Always dare to see it for what it could be. His vision was being squandered. He became the VP of Activision Blizzard as a figure holder, and Bobby Kotick's dumbass went and took it over and made this man who was passionate about this game have to give up on his dream for an MMO. I hope you do the same. GG. Jeffrey Kaplan. We let Activision win.